police and the FBI are chasing down a tip that self-proclaimed jihadist Edward Archer, the guy we're talking about, may have been part of a larger radical group that includes 3 other men. At this hour, authorities are not sure if this is legitimate, but they're not taking any chances given what happened. And they're ordering all officers to work with a partner until further notice. What's more, they're now warning other law enforcement agencies to be extra vigilant, saying the threat may not be isolated to Philadelphia. Texas Congressman McCaul is a Republican and chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. He has a new book out this week, Failures of Imagination, the Deadliest Threats to Our Homeland and How to Stop Them. Great to see you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me.
It's a scary book because you actually know what you're talking about. And those who also know have praised this to the umpteenth degree, saying we need to read it. When you see this happen, you see that there's not even a nod to it. The press doesn't care. The White House doesn't even mention it. What does it tell you?
The reason I wrote this book is so the American people can know what the truth is. I think this administration has downgraded the threat consistently since Major Hassan at Fort Hood to San Bernardino, saying, is it workplace violence? Is it terrorism? To just the other day, the Philadelphia police officer shot. He says it's in the name of Islam, says it's jihad, but we should be listening to ISIS. Yet the administration wants to downplay this at every turn. What this book talks about is the truth.
Why can't we accept the murderer at his word?
Why can't we accept the fact when Hitler said he wanted to take over the entire globe, why didn't we listen to him? Why don't we listen to ISIS? When they say it's radical Islamist terror, we need to define it, call it what it is.
You know the president's
Only until we do that can we defeat it.
So you argue that in this book, and a lot of very smart people agree with you, including General Jack Keane and others, and General Michael Flynn. But what the White House says to that is, you're playing right into their hands. Bin Laden wanted to bait us into a war in the Middle East, and he did it with 9/11. And the same thing is happening now with ISIS. And for those who want to call it radical Islam, all the Muslims will hear is the word Islam, and it'll just fire up the moderates to hate us when they don't.
I think they want to deny it because they're losing. He wanted to pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan. That was a campaign narrative, close down Guantanamo. You know what, Megan, it didn't work out that way. ISIS erupted its ugly head, and you can't ignore it. You can't pretend like it doesn't exist. And you can't pretend like it's not a threat to the homeland, because it is.
I know you argue in there that ISIS is a failure of leadership. It's a failure of presidential leadership. But you go through in this book how 9/11 was a failure of imagination on our parts. And you talk about some scary scenarios like possible dirty bomb at Disney World, possible terror attack at the Mall of America. Why do you raise those specific examples?
Well, I think there was a failure of imagination at Pearl Harbor at 9/11. I think it's important that we use our imagination to prevent this from happening in the future. We didn't connect the dots at the time. All I'm doing is telling the American people the truth about the threats we face as a nation and what we need to do to stop those threats, and to the policymakers. And until we can get the attention of the American people on this issue, we can't stop it. The administration is not going to tell you the truth.
Before I let you go, we just got news on the State of the Union. A couple of Democratic representatives are going to bring along with them representatives of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. This is a very controversial group. They've been named an unindicted co-conspirator in a terror trial right here in the U.S. They've been named a terrorist group by our ally, the UAE. What do you make of taking representatives to the State of the Union?
Well, they were unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation case in Dallas, Texas. We need outreach to this community. But we're the victims of San Bernardino at the State of the Union. I hope that's who we have.
I think there is going to be one. There's going to be one in the First Lady's, State of the Union box. But the question is whether you think it's appropriate for this group. There are a lot of Muslim groups out there that don't necessarily have these ties.
The King of Jordan, a good example. Why aren't we recognizing his efforts in the war against ISIS and against terrorism? Why are we recognizing a group that was part of a conspiracy in a terrorism case?
Great to see you, sir. Good luck with the book.
Thanks,
Failures of Imagination by Michael McCaul. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.